Cool, alright, so we've been called to a person that's fallen out of a tree, an adult male patient, and they said he's bleeding from his left forearm and may have a right fractured ankle. There could be other injuries, but we'll find out when we get there. Alright, so just arrived on scene. I'm checking for any dangers. No, everything looks all good. Hello there, my name's Daniel, this is Fletcher. So he's given me a response, which is good. It's showing that his airway's clear and he's breathing. So the next thing I'm worried about is his circulation. I noticed the bleeding down there. Do you mind if Fletcher just put some pressure on your arm? Cool. Alright, and also elevate it a bit. Try and stop that bleeding. Alright mate, so first thing we're going to do is stop that bleeding. I'm just going to get some gauze pad and saline. So I'm just going to wet the saline just so it doesn't stick to your wound. Alright, so pour that on. Just want to take it off a little bit. So, ooh, that's squirting out there. Put a lot of pressure on there because it's an arterial bleed. So we're going to try and stop that, and then we'll look at your other injuries, alright? So what happened, mate? You're just going to wrap this up first. How did you fall out of the tree? You lost balance, okay. Alright, and is there any other injuries you can tell me about? No, just your leg and your arm? Okay, so I'm just going to wrap this quite tightly. I'm just going to try and stop that bleeding. While I'm doing that, what's your pain scale out of 10? About a 9, also quite bad, okay, so alright, once this stops we'll have a look at your leg, Yep, so once I get up there, I'm just going to stop this bleeding first, and then once I've wrapped this up I'm just going to check your pulse to make sure you've still got one. So it's a little bit weak because we're losing blood and a bit of pressure. I'm also going to check your capillary refill time just to see the perfusion come back in your fingers, so that's about 2 to 3 seconds. So just want to keep that up. The colour looks alright, warmth is all good. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is a trauma sweep to make sure you've got no other injuries other than your ankle there. Is that alright if I touch you just to feel for injuries from your head to your toe? Cool. Alright, so before I do that, I just want to call for backup. AET1, can we please get an R50 or R51 for IV access? Might have to give some pain relief or fluids. Cool, thank you. Alright mate, so I'm going to, like I said, do the trauma sweep, just checking your head, checking to see if there's any broken skull, your cheek, you didn't fall on your head or anything? No, it feels fine. Alright, I'm just going to come down your neck, let me know if there's any pain. What we're saying is a bit of pain on the back there, alright? Is it more in the middle or is it to the side? In the middle, okay, so we've got midline tenderness there, which is part of the nexus rules that we might need a collar. So yeah, if you can put his arm down, I mean you'll put it on his chest, but because he's a dummy you can't. Can you come around and hold the head for us please? Alright, so now I'm worried about, you may have a spinal, but I'm still going to carry on this trauma sweep, see if there's anything else. So just going to touch your shoulders there, just seeing if those are all good. Which they are. Come down your sternum, let me know if there's any pain anywhere. Chest, how's that feeling? All good. Checking the ribs, no broken ribs. I'm just going to put a bit of pressure on your abdomen, just let me know if there's any pain there. Just checking all 4 quadrants. Everything feels all good, feeling for any like hardness or anything, could mean there's bleeding. Just looking at your arms, just making sure there's no more blood anywhere. No other injuries, that's all good. You move your fingers there, cool. Come down this one, move your fingers there as well. Alright, we're all good. Move down to the pelvis, just going to make sure that's not broken. Feel alright? Cool. Alright, now I'm just going to expose your legs, is that alright? It might be a bit painful for your right one. You can see you might have a broken ankle there. Alright, so now that I've done that, there's no blood or anything, so there's no bone sticking out, so that's sort of good. Can you wiggle your toes for me, mate? Yep, so he's got some movement there, so he's not paralysed, which is good. Alright, so it's just the ankle I'm worried about and the collar. So before I put the collar on, I just want to check if there's any other red flags. According to the Canadian C-spine collar rules, the red flag is he's fallen from a height of 2 metres, which is over the 3 feet. It's a high mechanism of injury. And the nexus rules are that he's got distracting injuries, which he didn't even know he had a sore neck, and the tenderness on the back of the neck there in the midline, which is a sign. So once I get the collar on, going to measure it up first from the collarbone to the jaw, which is about 4 fingers there to there, which is set up perfect. Alright, I'm just going to put this collar on you, mate. It's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but we want to keep you as still as we can so we don't do any more damage to your spine. I'm just going to come around here. Okay. And then do you want to slightly lift his head up for me so I can put him in the sniffing position. So keep his airway open. Just a little bit higher. There we go. Cool, now just hold that head steady for me there. So now that I've got him in the collar, I want to check his vital signs because I just want to give him some pain relief, but I'll make sure everything else is fine first. So when I get set up here, Fletcher, do you want to check the rest rate for me?
Yeah. Just
count for 15 seconds to see if there's, and then times it by 4 and we'll get the number in a minute, number of breaths. So it's all set up. I'm also going to check the pulse at the same time, 15 seconds and I'll times by 4. Cool. Just shout it out once you've got the rest rate.
My count's 18.
18, so you're a little bit higher because of the pain, but and his pulse is about 80, so pain. Alright, I'm just going to take your blood pressure. I'm just going to wrap this cuff around your arm. Alright, so it's going to get a little bit tight around your arm for a sec. Alright. So I'm going to find his pulse and I'm going to pump it up until I can't feel his pulse anymore. Yep, and then I go one step further, and then I'm going to stick this in and slowly release it and listen to when it comes back in, and then when it goes off again, which gives me the systolic and diastolic, which is 140 over 100. Now that I've done that, I'm also going to have a listen to your chest as well, just to make sure you haven't got a collapsed lung or any internal bleeding. Alright, so just take, is it alright if I put, listen to your chest? Cool, alright, just take a deep breath in. Good, now do the same on the other side. I'm just checking both sides to make sure they're both the same. In the middle there, take another breath. There, and slowly work my way down. Another breath there. And I also want to listen to the back, but because we've immobilised him, we're not going to move him, so I'm just going to try cut around the back as far as I can. Another breath there, and another breath there. So now that's all clear, couldn't hear any crackles or blockages or anything. So now that the obs are fine, I want to give him some pain relief before we start moving his ankle. Fletcher, I might need a hand from you. I'm just going to, if there was a bystander around, we'll get them to hold the head, otherwise we can stabilise it by putting these there. And because he's conscious and he's obeying commands, he can lie still for us. Now Fletcher, can I get you to make the box splint for us for his ankle? Cool. So the couple of pain relief I'm going to give him is paracetamol and epoxyfluorine, which is where? Not me.
Top pain relief pocket.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So for paracetamol, it takes a bit longer to kick in, so I'm going to give it to him first. So, so I'm going to check his weight, how much he weighs. He weighs about 75, so that's two 500 grams of paracetamol, which is 100 milligrams. And before I give it to him, I'm just going to double check that it's the right drug, it's the right dosage, the expiry date, and then I'm also going to get Fletcher to check it for me. Can you do a drug check? Just to make sure that's all good. And while he's doing that, all good. Before I can give this to him, I'm going to make sure he hasn't had in the past 4 hours. Some contraindications are if he's got a severe allergy and if he's got current paracetamol poisoning, but he says he doesn't. So before I give it, because he's lying down, I'm going to make sure he can drink some water first. That's all good, and then give him the 2 tablets. Done. Now I'm going to give him some afloxyflorine because he's in a lot of pain. How's that pain out of 10, mate? Yeah, still about an 8 or a 9. So before I move your leg, I'm going to give you some afloxyflorine. This is going to help with some short-term pain relief. You blow through this green whistle and you blow out through it. But before I can give this to him, I'm going to do another drug check. Make sure it's the right drug. Yep. I'm going to give him 3 mils at first, and check the expiry. Do you want to check that again for us? Please, before we give it to the patient. Contraindications for mefloxiflorine.
Yep, good.
Have you had this in the last week? No, he hasn't. Do you have a renal impairment? No. Do you have malignant hypothermia? No. And he's able to obey my commands. So do you want to put your hand through this strap, which you can do, and you're going to hold it yourself and breathe in and out. Cool, so you can start sucking on that now to help with the pain. Now that that's happened, how's that box splint going?
Ready to go?
Ready to go? Alright, so now that he's got some pain relief, I'm just going to straighten out his leg. Have a few puffs, mate, because it's probably going to hurt a little bit, so supporting the injury. Okay, one, I'm going to pull and straighten at the same time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Alright, now that they're in line, I can just double check that the lengths are the same, just compare the two so I can see it, it doesn't look quite right there. Just going to check his distal pulses. Cool, so a bit faint on this side. Can you wriggle your toes? Yep, check the cap refill. Alright, so now we're ready to put a box splint on. So grab these, just one through there. So this box splint is going to keep his leg straight from moving while we're loading him into the ambulance and getting him to hospital. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to lift his leg and you're going to slide that in right up to his foot. Alright, before we do that, have a few more puffs, so it's going to hurt a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to support the foot and the leg. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Cool, yep. And come down there, so slide these down. Cool. Got it. Tie one up there, and then I'm going to come around the ankle here. Okay. So now I've done that, I'm just going to double check his pulse. Rechecking the baselines, which are good. So now we're almost ready to go to hospital, but I've noticed that his bleeding hasn't stopped. So I'm going to do the next thing and give him a tourniquet. And Fletcher, do you want to hold his arm up again for us, please? Cool. Alright, so we want to stop that bleeding, mate. So I'm going to try and save your arm and you losing too much blood. So I'm going to put this tourniquet around you. Just put it on there. I'm going to put it 10 centimetres proximal to your injury and always on a single bone. Wrap it around there. Right, it's maybe a little bit, I'm just going to tighten it up. Tighten it up and lock it in place. Now I'm also going to write the time on that. Now that I've stopped that, I want to check that it has stopped bleeding, so I'm going to pull these out. Just have a quick look. So the bleeding has stopped, and now that I've got him in the tourniquet, I just want to double check the pulse and the cap refill, and then, and then we're ready to load him up and go to hospital.